Hey, let's examine what you can do with Ham Radio Deluxe today. Let's create some QSL labels. I'm Mike, Whiskey Alpha 9, Papa India Echo with Ham Radio Deluxe. If you find this video useful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. Okay, after I did a video a few weeks ago, someone was asking, well, how would you tag, I think we're doing QSL cards, and so I was showing how you kind of can collect QSL cards, and you go in and update the log to show that you've received them. So if you need that information, go back to the log and you can find it. In this particular video, I'm going to show about how you can create some cards. I'm going to show a special use case, but the use case I'm going to show probably is kind of one of the more common use cases, but it encompasses a lot of things, so I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to print bureau cards for all the QSOs that I've done this year where I haven't had confirmations, but I've had those QSOs this year. So the first thing you want to do is use the filter function. And so what I want here is I want to get some data, but I've got my entire log in here. That's almost 12,000 QSOs. So I don't want to print 12,000 labels. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at only QSOs since the first of the year. So I'm going to go back, well, hang on. I want to go back to December 31st. Because if I do that, then everything that comes after December 31st of 2023 is what I'm looking for. And the next thing I'm going to do is I don't want to send to the United States. So I'm going to exclude, so it does not contain 291, which is the numeric value for the United States. But I want to use any QSL cards where the logbook of the world value is received value is no. So when it contains no, or when the QSL card value for received is no. So I'm going to select it and just put N in, don't put NO because it won't work. Because the value in the database is N, but it's displayed as no, and you can see that over here, so don't do that. Just put in the N. I've shown contains, that's fine. So I've got data since 12/31/23, excludes the United States, and I'm looking for QSOs that I haven't confirmed by card or by logbook of the world. You see I've got 11,757. If I click on apply, that's going to show me the 138 records for this year where I have what meets these search conditions. Okay. So if but let's talk for a minute before I go and print those. Let's talk for a minute about the QSL label stock. Let me pull up a web page. Okay, if I just pull up Google and I go and say, okay, Avery label sizes. And I'm going to see a whole bunch of choices here. If I could look at the shopping and it would probably show me the dimensions. So I've got 1 inch by 2 5/8. That's these, I think there's probably 30 on that page, something like that. But you start making them like that and they're really small. Ham Radio Deluxe will do it, but what I recommend is you find something that's 2 rows. Here's 2 rows, and these are 2 rows, and they're 4 inches wide, and they're 2 inches tall. That could work. I think that's a little tall, but if you're doing QSL labels that have a lot of QSOs on them, you might want to do that. I'm going to look for something that has 14 labels on them. So I'm looking for 2 columns of 7, or in other words, 7 rows of 7 rows of 2 columns or 2 labels. Like this one here, for example. So this is 4 inches wide and an inch and a third. That's pretty good. So I recommend that you look at the labels that are 4 inches wide and about an inch and a third to 2 inches, something like that, depending on what you want to do. The same thing's true. I'm going to be printing on label sheets here, but the same thing is true if I were going to be using, I've got a Brother single label printer, but I'm going to be printing on sheets right now, but something like this is what you want. So that's what I'm using. And then I'm going to click on any one of these and do a Control A. Control A, that highlights them all. And then I'm going to come up and click on this icon that says print label. You could do right click, print labels, or you could just click on this button and that brings you to here. Okay. Now I've already selected the Bureau filtered labels. So I'm looking at 138 QSOs, and you can change the way this shows on your screen. I'm going to zoom to page, which gives me this, which is what I like to see. There's different, this is called the modern. I could do the traditional, and that gets it looking like this. Still, again, you know, I'm at 10 pages. You can see that up here. I kind of like the modern, so I'm going to go back to modern. If you're not doing bureau printing, you can select this one, and that'll get you, you know, all the QSOs that are fit for the, you know, for all kinds of transmission methods. But I want to use the bureau sorted, which in this particular case still gets me to 138. And that's okay. But the nice thing about this is they're going to come out sorted. So you don't have, this is really important because this is cool. You don't have to try and figure out how to sort them in the order that the outbound bureau likes to have them. You just use the bureau sorting, which is what this is, and the labels will come off in the right order. And all you have to do is peel them and stick them and keep them in the right order, submit them, and you're good to go. If you want to view the bureau sort, you can click on bureau sort down here. Let me drag this over here. And you can see here's the country prefix and the call area. So that's kind of the way they're sorted. So by country prefix, then by call area. You kind of sort down through all of this and you can see how they're sorted. But that's what you get with all those. Now, I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of 2. That gets me in good shape. So I've got labels. I'm going to print 10 sheets. I can see the 10 sheets up here. So let me go and throw some label paper in the printer across the hall, and I'll be right back. Okay, and meanwhile, I bought these off Amazon, so you can get the Avery copies, but the ones I got look like this, and it's the same thing. So you got 7 rows of 2. That's what I'm using here. So now that you're all done, you know, getting your paper loaded, you might want to, after you print the labels, you might want to add the Please QSL down here. If I unclick this, you'll see that it goes away. So I'm going to click that because I do want the confirmations. And you can put a custom message here if you want to. I'm going to leave that off, but that's where that goes over here. The nice thing is that you can set those records to enable automatically. So you're going to set the QSL sent value to yes, and I'm going to set it to bureau. You can see the different values there, and then save the date as the current print date and so on. Okay, well, a lot going on in here, and my wife brought me my bourbon, so we're good to go. Right, so I'm going to set those records to sent equals yes via bureau, and I'm good to go. So I'm going to click on print, and all those records just went to the printer. So I'm going to run over to the printer in a moment and grab those, and I'll be right back. Okay, so back from the printer, and hopefully you can see this. They're all printed. and they're printed in the order that the bureau needs to get them. So at this point, I would just, I'm going to show you, I'll just do one. I'll peel off a label, and it looks like this. So I've got one label, and I'm going to grab a card, and I can throw that card on that on the card. And if I do that, 138 times, I've got all the ones I need to send to the bureau, and I'm in good shape. Covers up some of the card. Might put that on the back. Anyway, that's how you do that. And inside of Logbook, there is a list of countries, and the list of countries has an attribute that tells whether or not the that particular station you QSO'd with is covered by the outgoing QSL bureau. So they're already filtered, they're already in the same order, and so that's how you do it. And then they'll all be marked as sent, so all you have to do is pack them up and send them off. I want to say a couple words about again about the printing labels. And again, I'm using 7 rows of 2 for a total of 14. I've seen people use 10 rows of 2. That gets you I think an inch or so in height and 4 inches wide. I don't know that I would go any narrower than that. I certainly wouldn't squeeze it too much the other way. So if you can get 4-inch wide labels, an inch and 5/8 thick, that's really what you ought to do. I'm using Consolis as the font. Consolis puts the strike through in the 0, and it also properly sets the capital I. See if I can find one in here someplace, but it properly sets the capital I and the number 1, like down here, to something that's legible, and it is distinguished from the number 1 or the L or whatever. So do that. You may decide you want to change the fonts, and if you do, it'll just give you more room in the columns. If I take it up too far, you'll eventually see where it starts to, like right here, roll off, and so I don't want to do that. But you can select show me month. That probably makes it worse. Show me just the 2-letter year, and that might make it better. So you've got options to kind of tinker with it. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with 10 or 11 font. You can see that if it starts to wrap around like this right here, you don't want to do that. So you can select year. That'll get rid of that. So it's a two character year. But it's totally up to you. I like to use the 4 character year, which means I'm going to go to a font size of 10 on Consolis. All those are done, and I'll get them on the cards and sent out to the QSL bureau straight away. See if there's anything else I wanted to mention. I guess there's note that there's this button down here, or this option, so you can if you use this option, it'll print directly to the printer without bringing up this dialog box. I only recommend that if you're printing one label at a time with like a label Brother or Dymo label printer like I've got sitting over here. That's perfectly fine. Otherwise, I like the ability to see the print preview and see what's going on there. You could also print, if you wanted to print address labels, if you were mailing them, you would get them like that. That's all fine, but of course you don't need those for the bureau. So that's what this was all about. So cool thing to be able to print it where they're already sorted for the bureau. You don't have to do anything. Pre-sorted, print them out, stick them on the labels or on the QSL cards, and you're good to go. Also note there's a lot of options up here for how you want to see the screen. You can see it wide. You can fit to width. I kind of like the zoom to page, so I'll do the zoom to page, and then you can see everything on a page. If you want to flip through the pages, you can just boom, boom, boom like this and make sure everything's going to fit on a label. Some cases, for example, you got 3 or 4 QSOs printed on a single label, which is important. So you can tell whether or not you're going to flow onto another sheet, and pretty cool, pretty cool. So that's the way you get it done. If you have any questions, let us know. But again, you can do this today in Ham Radio Deluxe, and I'm Mike, WA9PIE 73.